Welcome back, everybody. This is week number 4 of the Quake World Championship EU Duel Qualifiers. Now, we're going through this bracket quite quickly, and with the amount of players that we tend to have every single week, that could be quite daunting for a lot of players because there's so much competition here. But we're going into our next match, which is going to be ioRek versus fagn4h. Now, basically, this is the final chance for a lot of these guys, and this will be a running talking point, I think, in that how will these players rise to the stress of what tonight brings?
I think it's a question of experience, right? If you're a competitive gamer and you've been around for a while, you might be better at dealing with this kind of situation where you know it is make or break every single match you have. For example, if it's like a double elimination bracket in some games, you kind of have that safety net. Single elimination, you know, one loss and you're out. This is very much that situation, right? Everyone in this tournament so far is going to be one loss, that's it, you go home. A lot of people are used to that situation, though. A lot of people have been around playing tournaments for years and years and years, and I do believe ioRek, in fact, who we're about to see coming up now, is an FPS pro, so I'm inclined to think he's been in a few competitions here and there, but if you haven't been, it can seem quite overwhelming at first, you know, especially when you go towards that sort of like back foot where you know you're now down on rounds, you're down on maps, and then you have to make that comeback. It's almost quite easy to forget the situation you're in if you're winning the set, but when you're losing and the pressure starts to add up, it really is a question of how you deal with that and what your practices are.
Well, sometimes the best thing that you can do is like just sort of put the stress of the situation out of your mind, because the second that starts plaguing on your mind, you can second guess decisions. You're not going to be as confident in the plays that you're about to make. So as you said, if you're winning and it's all working out, you kind of just sort of just get zoned in, and it's just another day in the office for you, especially if you're a pro player or have experience in that professional environment. On the flip side, as you just mentioned, when you are on the back foot and you're maybe 1 or 2 champions away from being eliminated, there's very little you can do to stop that from being all that you're thinking about.
Indeed, but however, going into this one, because this will be a different round, right? So that the predetermined map, that first map you play on every single time, will change from round to round. We just saw Blood Covenant before. We'll be able to find out what it is as soon as possible. But the 4 maps, right? Ultimately, early on in this sort of season, about 4 weeks ago or so, we were sort of thinking, you know, how used to these different maps are the players going to be? How much have they played on each different map, being there 4 of them? Have they got stuff they don't really like? Or, you know, sort of on the flip side, maps they find favorable. Now we are so far into this competition for the Quake World Championships, I'm inclined to think that no one is really uncomfortable on any of the 4 maps right now.
Now, Blood Run being the predetermined map for this round in the tournament, again, I'm not surprised that we see Ranger get picked. This really is a map that he can shine on because he can go wherever he wants to be at any given time, and it just sort of complements the way this champion has played. Now, again, very traditional. So first of all, ioRek going straight in with a comp that we just saw when we saw D-Bay versus Zanes. So that's pretty much a complete mirror of what we saw before. But going into this matchup, will it be exactly the same outcome? Will it be that slow-paced match where both players play very passively, very defensively? Ranger, I mean, I reckon we're going to see Ranger picked first, or at least we did see Nick, so it's likely that we'll see her again picked first. But I think between those two, it'll be one of those two.
Well, then on the side of fagn4h, we've seen him go with Anarchy for the first time today, and soorlag. soorlag is a bit of a sleeper hit when it comes to champions right now. We see her have a lot of big impact in certain maps or certain situations, but I think a big part of that is the matchup, right? soorlag's acid being so good at tracking things. Once you sort of step a foot in that pool, and the damage will start to tick, and the soorlag player gets to see where you are currently against champions like Nyx, or even against, you know, perhaps a Ranger who's used a dire orb, but he's sort of holding on to that damage over time as he moves along. Just having that awareness and having that knowledge can be the difference between, even if you're trying to stall for time, like we see increasingly week after week, a lot of players really going for that timeout. If you're trying to stall for time and you get that acid and you can see where they are, you just run in the opposite direction. But whether we'll see that, I guess we'll find out very soon.
soorlag's also going to do a good job of sort of just spraying acid on the 2 main points, being that Mega Health and Heavy Armor, but immediately actually snatching both. That was a horrendous start for ioRek, but so well played by fagn4h. Fantastic play. Because he knew ioRek was going towards that heavy armor also. Like, that was just a complete bold and confident decision. We just talked about how week 4 might make people doubt their choices. That was a well-calculated and bold play, and it just worked out so well.
There you go. So fagn4h is now going to be holding on to that, at the moment, that Anarchy.
And again, just unable to take control of any of these major pickups so far, and already forced onto that soorlag. Let's see. And
oh,
again,
wow, found immediately.
Spawn. Oh, that was by far, I mean, the fastest round of the tournament.
Yeah, ioRek looking completely confident right now to the max. That was swift. I mean, we just saw, well, a bunch of rounds on every single map we just saw in the first set just go down to the wire. Lots of timeouts, but this is the exact opposite. Looks like ioRek is really just sort of sensing that discomfort, perhaps, or maybe he's just feeling himself.
Now he's going to, again, try and get that early read. But fagn4h, the immediate change was going ioRek first. Because you can move quicker and you can navigate the map quicker, the chances of having that stolen is just much lower, I think.
Once again, actually, if you can see these situations where the players are just sort of sitting still, waiting around, there's usually them listening out for footsteps or pickups, just trying to get a gauge on where their opponents are at the time.
Oh! Already, ioRek manages to take that.
Why are you torturing me?
Already trying to sort of use the dire orb once again. But we're going to see down to a ranger each.
Once again, the sort of stable we've seen before. ioRek looking really good. Oh, we can tell he's trying to bait that rocket launcher. He knows they're there.
Doesn't quite get it.
Oh, dire orb. Oh, unfortunately, it goes straight to the ground. I'm not quite sure if that's going to work. And there we go, yeah. fagn4h just got taken down. Unfortunately, sort of fumbled the dire orb, and ioRek is more than willing to make him pay for it.
I can only assume that he used that dire orb to try and sort of steal that mega health before he got it, but because it hit the ground, because he just missed, that was it. Disaster.
Once again, fagn4h just put on this final Sorlag on the back foot. Once again, we see this quite often, though, Sorlag played in this position. We have seen comebacks made week after week, but whether that happened this round, I'm not quite sure, as ioRek is here once again. Ready to make him pay, and there we go, an easy frag for ioRek, looking very unchallenged so far.
There really wasn't anything you can do there. If you get caught in a bad spot and you've got no armor and there's not really any way you can run away, you've not got mobility tools of an ability, you kind of have to sit there and take it. And the only thing you can really do with Sorlag, I think, is try and just out-damage the opponent. Use that acid spray in combination with, like, you know, maybe a rocket or lightning gun, and just didn't quite get what he needed there. But
that was quite a good spawn for ioRek, though, considering how he's been playing. Obviously, being able to get that railgun immediately and get that, well, free shot trying to bait towards the mega health. Unfortunately, we didn't connect.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's used that aggressively, but fagn4h using that sort of predictive rocket, and because ioRek walked into it, he's going to know that he was being chased.
Speaking of which, though, ioRek does have full health, but no armor, so very susceptible to being railed at the moment. Oh, but was able to get the first hit, and fagn4h goes down once again.
I mean, we've seen some really, really sort of slow-paced matches so far. This is not one of them by any means.
Able to swoop through, though. Mega health not quite here yet. fagn4h put on this ioRek, so it's going to be quite a fast-paced match between the two. Next ioRek, he knows he's got a low. As ioRek can be able to get away, he's hanging around. Oh, that would have been such a clutch shot as well. ioRek decided to stay there, but he's going to get tagged.
Yeah, there's no doubt ioRek sort of stayed there to try and get a cleaner shot. So right as he comes out, if you time it well, before they see that you've reappeared, you get that free rail, but he did manage to make it connect. But they do have that trade. Going for the chase, but not going in for the aggressive dire orb. I think he really expected fagn4h to take that heavy armor. Didn't want to risk it.
Unfortunately, doesn't really have a lot of decent weaponry right at the moment. He has a super shotgun and a super nail gun. Has he got enough to get this frag? The injection is popped. Does fagn4h go back in?
They're both really weak. They're both so weak.
That could have been so close.
He got a couple of hits of that machine gun, but if it was flipped round and fagn4h had his health, maybe we would have seen a frag there. But speaking of health, both of which completely evened out back there.
fagn4h a damn sight more stocked up, though, too, as all the weapons he could ever need. Now full health, mega health, too. And there we go, heavy armor. Now fagn4h finally has a lot of momentum going into the rest of this round.
You can really see on this map as well, ioRek being aggressive is quite effective because of the speed of which he can move around. But he's in the air a lot, so those ground rockets, speaking of rockets, that was well placed, but the speed of which he can jump around, the ground rockets aren't likely to affect ioRek with as much splash damage because he's not really in the radius as often.
So it looks like fagn4h's been able to sort of take control of this round a bit.
Here
no, ioRek goes in for the kill. The ball rush, has he chased him down?
No,
yes,
he's
has.
chased him all the way. He's got the heavy armor, but he took so much damage there. A really bold chase, and it did work out for him. They're both down to their final champion, but here, both very tanky champions.
This could be an interesting matchup between the two. Sorlag, Acid not being as effective against the big bodies just because of their sheer health pool, but a lot harder to sort of avoid.
Ooh. There's that rail. That's really good. It's going to be way easier for fagn4h to land that rail too, because, I mean, look at it, right? 41 HP. Even with that mega health.
I think a big deciding factor about this is Sorlag sort of like universal.
Oh, here we go, that's it! That's what we needed.
And before I can even say it, Sorlag's sort of universal mobility not being quite as... well, Sorlag's universal mobility being a lot faster than Scale Bearers, but when it came down to just ability versus ability, Scale Bearers probably brings a little bit more to the table in that specific 1v1. But regardless, isn't even going to matter, as ioRek is able to take the first 3 rounds of that first map very quickly, especially round 1 and 2. They just breezed by.
I kind of expected to see the Sorlag acid be a bit more prominent, because no matter what champion you are, it will just shred. It just shreds health, unlike almost anything else in the game. But I think ioRek just did a really good job of staying out of that effective range. When you see these really sort of top Quake players, they understand the strengths and weaknesses of each champion, and if Sorlag is really dangerous at point-blank range, or within, you know, medium range where the acid is likely to hit an opponent, if it's really far away, you're probably not going to get hit by it because you can just dodge it. But if you're point-blank, you can't really do much about it. So if she's spraying you with acid in combination with rocket damage or lightning gun damage, no matter who you are, your health just disappears. But he just didn't put himself in that situation.
Also, a big part of Scale Bearer obviously is the safety. When you take that heavily reduced damage during your bull rush,
well, it's like a clean half.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is just straight up. You take like half damage you normally would, basically while you're doing that rush. Lets you just, if you time your pickups right, just run over pickups like the mega health. Well, not so much heavy armor on that map, but with Scale Bearer. But universally, if you time your bull rush at the right time, you can almost like guaranteed pick that stuff up without taking much damage. Because obviously, even if you hit like a direct rocket as you go over, you're taking 50 damage, and you've just picked up the mega health or the heavy armor, which is going to top you up just that much more. Which I think really helps out in that sort of final situation where it's just that straight up 1v1 that you can almost safely pick up these pickups that people would normally just try and zone you away from to really control that 1v1, and Scale Bearer just gets through that quite well.
But on Blood Run in particular, I think one thing ioRek did a fantastic job of was just the aggressiveness and how he played. He just expected that...
He took his fights really well.
Yeah, it's like, I can go for a really early start here. I'm confident that I've got enough weapons or I've got enough health to, if I rush him now and he's not expecting it, I am 100% going to come off better. And in that first round, we saw exactly that. Like, before we even went down to like the minute mark, 1 round was already gone. The speed of that game was like... by far the fastest thing we've seen all day, and it was just bold play.
That's actually one I find a very interesting difference between certain playstyles in Quake Champions so far. Is some players will take that champion and will then focus on, like, you know, stocking themselves up, getting themselves back to full health again, so they can, you know, survive what will probably be quite a lengthy encounter for the next time. Whereas some players, they will just go for frag after frag straight away. They'll get that first frag, know they've got plenty of weapons, and they will just go seeking you out as soon as you respawn, because they know you're not picking up as much weapons at the time.
Here's the question. That was quite obviously the playstyle that ioRek enforced. So when it comes to your map, of which you now have the choice, what kind of map do you go with? Do you go for a map that just naturally forces an aggressive play to be not as effective early on? Do you go for a larger map where you have more room to breathe? Do you go for a Blood Covenant or a Ruins of Sarnath?
One big thing we see is Anarchy on Ruins of Sarnath is very hard to deal with. When you are good at running away and you're good at just running the map around, you're good at keeping yourself as mobile as physically possible, so your speed is just at supersonic speeds the whole time. Anarchy fits Ruins of Sarnath like a glove. We see that week after week. Maybe that could be the choice here. I think it depends on how much weight he wants to put on his Anarchy, because we unfortunately didn't get to see much of Fag's Anarchy, so maybe we'll have to wait and see in this next one. That's even if he picks it, but that's just a quick assumption based on what we might see.
Well, you're talking about what we did see. What we did see from Fagner's Anarchy was certain situations where ioRek would just wait for him to go for a certain item and punish him the second he stepped foot into it. When he was Anarchy, he wasn't really able to do it because he just literally just zip in there, take it, and get out of there before a rocket or a rail could even connect. I think that might be one of the answers. It's just play a champion that is so fast. It's hard to get you locked down. If you get locked down into a certain point, it's harder to sort of contain Anarchy because he's got that increased air movement. If you hit him with a rocket and he gets stuck into the air, most champions kind of have to just deal with the gravity they're currently in. But if you're Anarchy, you get that increased air control of anything, including a rocket that you have been hit by the opponent. So I don't know. I think we might see him stick with Anarchy at the very least. It seems like a champion that doesn't do... It's not like it's a complete counter to the playstyle by any means, but it means that you're unlikely to just get caught in a situation you cannot survive, because Anarchy can escape.
We do see a lot of differences, though, when it comes to new maps. Some people will pick a certain map with a certain team comp in mind. Some people will run the same team comp and will then just pick the map that they think fits that composition best.
We saw that in our first series of the day.
Yeah,
it was probably the same champions throughout.
But obviously it isn't going to be a simple case of, oh, okay, right, well, you know, I'm just going to win the next map because I'm going to pick this and it's going to work because it's unbeatable. Your opponent has the opportunity to change their composition too. So if you all of a sudden, like, you know, run from, for example, we just saw Blood Run. Let's say, for example, we go to Ruins of Sarnath. That doesn't necessarily mean that ioRek's going to have to run the same 3 if he doesn't want to, which makes it quite hard to counterpick as such, which I don't think counterpicking is quite as heavy in terms of what a general thing, but I think it's mainly just comfort on the maps themselves.
I think it's because of how much freedom you have, and regardless, like you said, when you win, you're not really locked into champions that you won with last time, so you still have that freedom to go, right, well, you can analyze almost why the map was picked. If you can sort of think into that next level, you will understand why a certain map was picked the way it was. So you can almost predict the kind of playstyle they're going to try and counter yours with. So you have the complete freedom to choose 3 entirely new champions to get around that. And then before you know it, it's a completely different game with an entirely different playstyle. Just catch them off guard.
So ioRek's already gone 1 map up. Very fast.
Oh, yeah.
I think we sort of spent the whole afternoon so far, evening I should say, going, we expect to see things being quite slow, quite calculated, and then ioRek just comes in and says, nah mate, I'm just going to rush down. And that's exactly what we saw for 3 rounds. Whether that will continue, because obviously there's been this sort of this little bit of downtime in between map 1 and 2, which has, I think, really sort of given fagn4h that kind of breathing room, I think, that time to sort of just collect himself and think about what was going on. But if ioRek can sort of keep himself locked in the zone, because that's actually one thing that seems to be really prominent in this Quake, is when players really start to just lock on to the game, you know what I mean? And they are clearly just feeling themselves, and they know how good they are at the time. Whether ioRek can sort of keep that momentum going from map 1 to map 2 might be quite hard to stop him.
But we were just talking about how the pressure of this last chance situation can be for a lot of these players. It's a single elimination tournament. If you lose a series, you're out, and because this is week 4, that's your final chance, and there's no returning. But how confident do you have to be to go, right, I'm going to be aggressive here. I'm going to start, and I'm going to dive straight in. If that goes wrong, you've lost a champion, you're already down, you know? So it takes a lot of confidence to be able to do that. But I'm impressed that we're still actually seeing it from a lot of these players. But we already do see another Anarchy get selected. Looks like it's going to be Blood Covenant. And the immediate adaptation here was that there is no more Scale Bearer. It's a Visor instead.
But Visor on Blood Covenant is something we do see quite regularly. So not a huge surprise to see it picked up. At the same time, so is Scale Bearer, but looks like he'd rather swap out the Scale Bearer than anything else. I do think ioRek's just sort of picked the composition for this map very well. This is 3 supremely powerful champions on Blood Covenant for sure.
Now, the major thing here is that fagn4h, not only was he unable to get that rocket jump towards rail, but ioRek was able to beat him to it because of it. And now he's going to have that free rail. Very fortunately, manages to sort of zip out of the way of that rail before using his injection, because he would have actually been fragged before he had a chance to use it. But this was not a good start. Can he get away in time, though? He's got a lot of health.
Oh no, missed that rail, and fagn4h's going to make him pay for it. Getting the first frag with that rocket launcher. Now we find ourselves Anarchy versus Ranger once again. Now Anarchy being quite a momentum-based snowball character. The longer he's alive, the more health he's going to naturally have, the harder he is to deal with. But no, unfortunately can't quite cleanly get away, and ioRek makes him pay immediately.
The heavy machine gun manages to outsnipe the railgun. You don't see that every day.
Oh, ioRek managing to control this one back again. Oh, that's 2 rails. ioRek, you know, he's only just picked up the mega health, but look, he's already so low. Oh, so close.
I am not surprised that we didn't see fagn4h go for that teleport, because that would have been a death sentence. There we go, he's heard the health. He knows he's going through here now. We'll see.
Oh,
another one rail. Yep. We'll see if he can finish it.
He's chasing him down hardcore. We see the ioRek though. Oh, another rail. And 2 back to back. There we go. Taking fagn4h down to his final Sorlag once again.
This is going to be great for him though, because unless fagn4h can spawn near the rail completely, he hasn't got a rail himself. So he's going to be taking that almost like free long-ranged checked damage.
Yeah, you can see ioRek's trying to listen out for him. Doesn't quite know where he is just yet, but in the meantime, he's going to pick himself up that rocket launcher and LG combo.
Yeah, that was a very unfortunate jump pad to get hit by, because it's going to be a while before that mega health spawns. 10 seconds as well, with a Ranger that we've just seen going in. He's going to try and challenge, or I think they're actually going to opt to go for a straight up trade. I don't think he really wants to challenge that mega health at all, especially against the Sorlag with the acid spit. If you get caught in a bad spot, you will just get taken out so quickly.
That's good. Things sort of just being reset here though. ioRek, I should say, has that champion lead. fagn4h, the longer he can stay alive, already starting to stack up like just how much health fagn4h has available right now.
Well, we've seen him, but he's mid-air. Can't really capitalize on that too much when you can't move. There's another fight. Really good rocket, though.
Yeah, tries to get the mid-air rocket, wasn't quite able to get it.
Now, speaking of getting it, fagn4h did manage to get the mega health there. So I think even though the acid didn't really do any damage, it did a good job of just kind of like denying the area.
Well, we see it used for almost like that zoning purpose, right? Where it's just to sort of deny that area away from your opponent. That's all you needed it to do in that situation. It did secure him the mega health. Speaking of which, I was up in another 10 seconds,
wow.
but now we see ioRek is in his way.
I think ioRek is actually kind of sort of like sitting there and watching. Do I get a free little rail hit before I teleport? Do I try and take that cheeky damage? Gone from top down, hasn't quite seen him, but oh no, unfortunately was not able to stop him from collecting that mega. Still, the rockets actually aren't connecting, and because of it, manages to get the frag. And that's going to be a round. A couple of missed rockets paying dearly for it.
fagn4h made that sort of crucial decision at the last minute to just ignore ioRek at the time and just concentrate on picking up that mega health. He was able to do it, but unfortunately, by the time he decided to turn around and fight back, he was just missing a few too many shots. ioRek is going to make him pay.
Quite smart. This is a typical Ranger start. Instead of going straight for the heavy armor, collect the rocket first, and then make that sequence towards getting both rail and heavy armor together.
Speed.
Well, look at
that. Out of there.
There's one element, but this is one of the best spawns I think that Ranger can get, because on spawn he's got rocket, rail, and heavy armor, plus his natural 100 health pool. Like, it's one of the most dangerous starts a champion can have, I think. And wow, good catch.
Yeah, ioRek's not letting anything go by at all. What a mess.
Those Gibbs flying down the jump pad was just really disgusting.
That's just one of those dream scenario frags, right? Where you get the frag straight into a heavy armor or mega health. Which is happening quite a lot already. ioRek is able to get that one. Once again, we find ourselves in the Ranger versus Ranger matchup. Quite a while away from both mega health and heavy armor, so I can't imagine we'll be seeing contention for those for a while. I think at this point, fagn4h just trying to really stock up his weapons. Has LG, has rail. Rocket is next, but we can see ioRek is already there waiting for him.
Right now, it's a 1-for-1 on the rail. They've both missed one as well, but again, that's going to be a good trade for ioRek, who's actually going in for the kill. Really aggressive. I don't even know if fagn4h was actually prepared for him to come around that corner.
I actually love how ioRek chose to go in from that way, though. Just predicting that escape option for fagn4h. fagn4h unfortunately going straight there, and once again left down to this lone scale bearer, but only 1 minute 20 onto the round. We have plenty of time for him to make this comeback. Question is, can he do it? Because ioRek just running a ridiculous amount of momentum right now.
Sort of control those weapons. If you've got a rail and you've got a nice amount of health, along this bridge area, you can really sort of control every important pickup. You can see the mega health, you can see the heavy armor, you can stop them from getting rocket. If you're right in the area, you can stop them from getting rail. It's a very dominant position to establish, and Ranger has no issues navigating that, and he doesn't really need to touch the ground, whereas sorlag needs to.
Oh, trying to get him through. ioRek making that prediction where he's going to go. Quickly snaps to the rail. That seems to be such a crucial talent to have, is being able to quickly swap to that rail and hit immediately. A lot of damage coming out though here. He's finally going for the fight. He's getting chased.
He's going in. Wonder if he's actually ready. He was not ready for him to use that teleporter at all. That was a fantastic rocket jump. I don't think he really had that route prepared in his mind, and because of it, he just got caught on the backside. I think
ioRek has been doing an amazing job of kind of predicting that one angle that he's just simply not ready for. And that happened
every time.
Actually, 2 of those frags in that next round was just down to fagn4h just not being ready for the way that ioRek was going to come through.
Now again with that Nick start instead of Ranger, she still has no issues taking those kind of jumps, and because of it again, being Anarchy towards the rail. So if he can just dodge these rockets, he's going to get free damage, and does manage to do it. Rocket versus rail can only do so well if you're just didn't have enough armor to take it.
ioRek really running away with this one.
This was a horrendous, that was a fantastic catch on the spawn, but a horrendous start for fagn4h. Has not had a chance to get anything going, and just like that, he is on the verge of getting eliminated already. He's down to sorlag, and with this many champions left, I don't know if this is a possible comeback.
From bad to worse in 30 seconds, ioRek finds himself with 1 champion left to take down.
Here
He's getting aggressive. He's following him down. Is that going to be enough for the kill? The acid comes out in defense. He has the heavy armor around him. Can he pick it up? Oh, he's even going to get the chance. He's getting chased down, and no, he will not, as ioRek is able to get him down to the bitter end, and ioRek advances.
That was a damned if you do, damned if you don't. He opted not to go in for the heavy armor, and at the last minute when he changed his mind, he was still stuck on that staircase, and because he couldn't really move around compared with his chunky hitbox, he just couldn't survive. That was fantastically executed by ioRek, I have to say.
That comes back to what we were saying earlier on though, about how players that really just seize those fights, see the opportunity to go, right, you're low, you know, I'm playing better in these 1v1s than you are, so just go in straight away. And ioRek did that almost every single life in every single round perfectly. And I think his team comp was built really well around that. Even as Ranger, when you have that Dire Orb, that actually I think that's something that ioRek did quite well, was both of those champions we saw him do the most with, being the Nyx and the Ranger, have an ability that can be used for both sort of mobility and defensive purposes and used for aggression. And he really was good at just deciding in the moment itself which order to go for.
Well, it's passives and abilities, right? Because Nyx's wall jump can help her move around the map, and then her ability helps her survive and get frags. Ranger's ability helps him survive and get frags. His passive helps him maneuver around the map because he can do those rocket jumps without taking minimal damage.
It's versatility.
It was just a great map for him. Really, really good map for him. But while we get into our next match, we're going to go for a quick break and set up the next game. So don't go anywhere. The Quake World Championship will continue after this.